sale in 6 months and prices are lower in 6 months, is that a better deal? Absolutely, of course it can be. The problem if you're waiting, if you don't buy your house, you can't lock in your mortgage, you don't have a house to connect it to. And so to me, there's a percent chance that interest rates could go higher. Is it 5, 10, 20% chance? There is some chance. Anybody who puts a number on there is just guessing, but there is a chance. You can't dismiss that rates don't go higher. So one of the costs, sitting on the sidelines about home prices, is you can't lock your interest rate. At that 5 or 10% chance of rates going crazy high into the 9s, you really, really wish you bought a house. So, waiting for the home prices to get better, to me it's not a no-brainer. I can see people wanting to wait. I can understand why they would. But I think there's some really good reasons that if that's their decision to wait, you can educate them on what risks they face. Hey, while you're waiting, rates could go higher. That's a very risk. I wouldn't use it as a fear tactic, but just you should understand all the pros and cons, all the aspects and risks you're taking by choosing to sit versus not sit. One thing I'll share with you as a parting comment. I don't know how we're doing at time. Are my books coming out yet? Okay. I always talk way too long. So I used to work in construction before I worked in the mortgage business. And we talked about the lack of supply in our country and how we get there. There's a new type of home out there that the building industry is calling cross mods, or crossover modulars. And the reason I'm sharing this with you today is almost no one knows about these. And in my opinion, this future market will be driven by realtors. So let me explain why I think it's exciting. Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac have rolled out new guidelines for very high quality manufactured housing. And their new guidelines require a bunch of features. It requires pitched roofs, attached garages, and very high quality, it's very detailed standards. The punchline is, if you saw one of these homes, and you had your best friend who's a building engineer, and you walk through this home, you could not tell it was not site built. That's how good they look. The old manufactured homes, the reason they're so negative is both the designs were very poor in the past, and also the materials were very poor. Fake veneers that scratch and don't wear over time. These have 2x4 walls, 2x6 walls, real drywall, high quality cabinets materials. You literally, as you walk around inside of these, you cannot tell the difference. And the reason this is important, in my opinion, is when you talk about a housing shortage, when you build a home in a factory, you have incredible efficiencies because you have the same processes repeated. When I used to work in construction, electricians and carpenters, when they build jobs, they charge you per units of work. They have to charge more because part of the month they're not working. So they have to charge you for their down days. So when you pay a per unit cost, you're paying for the downtime. If that electrician's working in a factory 40 hours a week, their per unit cost is lower, and it's dramatic. You can build this in a factory for 20 to 30% lower cost of construction than you do it on site. And here's the punchline. You can build this in a factory in 10 days. You have to prep the site, and you pour a foundation, run utility lines to it, and that takes several weeks, a couple months. The pieces get delivered, the porch and the garage get built on site, but the rest of the home is delivered in 3 pieces. You can walk into these homes, if you've seen double wides before, there were 2 pieces that were never meant to be one. They just sort of got put together sort of creatively, but you still feel like it's a train car, the room layout's kind of weird and doesn't flow. You can walk into these, walk in the front door, and have a 30-foot wide open room. You could have cove ceilings, you could have just large family spaces. And what's amazing about these homes is how quickly and how cheaply they can be built. So the reason I think this is important to all of you in the room who are realtors is today in the manufactured housing market, it works like a car business. A consumer buys a manufactured home when they drive past a retailer, they see the dancing balloons outside, they pull over, look at models, pick one, order one, and the dealer upsells them basic box, and they upsell them extra features, and those upsells are a big part of their profit, and that's how they operate. That market for those buyers who want a really low-cost MH home, I don't think they're going to pay up for these homes. I think they're going to still go that route. And in that route, if you were involved in that process as a realtor, you'd be viewed as an annoyance. You were a middleman, you get in the middle of it, your commission is like taking away the profit from the dealer. They don't want you to be involved in that process. Those same dealers are not going to want to do these homes. The dealers, they want to sell a home and make profit from upgrades and then help you get the thing installed by connecting you to a local installer. They don't want to build a porch or build a garage. They're not builders, they're dealers. They're definitely not builders. For them, building a porch or a garage is like crazy hard, difficult work. In my opinion, this market, the person who's going to buy this home is not the person who knows what an MH is looking for an MH. The person that this home is best suited for is a person who's never even heard of a cross-mod, would never even think they want an MH. They come to you as a realtor and they say, I'm looking for a 3-bedroom, 2-bath starter home in this market. What do you have available? You can show them your existing inventory. If you are knowledgeable about these programs, what you can do is say, well, here's a home, here's a picture of what you can get, and this is built in 10 days. It takes, best case, 90 days to buy it, install it, and that's the best case scenario. But here's all the vacant lots in that same neighborhood. Here are tear down lots in that same neighborhood. And so you may have dramatically increased their options. And the reason I think this is going to be realtor driven is Guild was the first lender in the country to do one of these loans under the new family program. We were the first lender to roll it out, the first lender to do one of these loans. And Fannie is wondering why this hasn't caught on like wildfire. The reason is during COVID, the builders had more orders for the old MH than they could handle, and most people waited 10 months in line. Even though it took 10 days to build, they had to wait in line for 10 months. So now that capacity is freeing up, these homes will be more available in the markets. And the biggest obstacle has always been that appraisers treat them like old MH, and you get a deal that gets destroyed because appraisal comes in low. Fannie Mae's in the middle right now of updating their guidelines to say that you use site build for comps, which just for the new high quality, not for old MH. So that'll be the game changer. But I see a future where you as realtors, you create this new business for the builders, because my personal opinion is their existing dealers are not going to really sell these homes. But you're the person who can do it. If you know how these work, and you offer to the borrower, the example I just walked through, I think that's how these come to market. It's also going to be like the builders. If there's any builders in the room, I've talked to a few builders who are looking at these. If you're a small builder, mid-sized builder, you could do a 1-unit house, you could do this 5-10-unit subdivision, and whoever crew you have today building stick built, you have the crew coming in and the factory delivers you the pieces, and your crew just does the porch and the garage and does the final attachments. And so your crew can turn around more homes per year than they would if you're doing a complete site build. So I think it's the way of the future. I used to live in a mountain rural area of Colorado, and we had the biggest forest fire in history burning through our area. And I was actually there when it happened, which was a whole bunch of other stories. But when the fire was over, the cost of construction doubled overnight. And it stayed double for several years. So it's another benefit for society, whether it's fires, or floods, or tornadoes, whatever might happen, is if we can rebuild homes that are really high quality, that they don't look like an MH, they look nicer than the stick builts in there, then that's just a good housing policy, because you can have them build in a factory that's 500 miles away, so you know labor doubled where your fire or flood happened. In this factory, 500 miles away, it's just normal work week for them is delivering a home a few miles further. I think for so many reasons, this is the way of the future of the country, and no one knows about it. They've been up for a few years. When I have these meetings with realtors, I can have 5 meetings, I might have 4 out of 5 have 0 people have even heard of it before, maybe 1 person in 1 meeting. So you'll be, if you learn about these, you'll be one of very few that know about them. But I think for each of you in this room, this just gives you another important ability to distinguish yourself or offer a person, because it's literally that person. If they're not educated by a realtor, I don't know how a home buyer even know to even think about what a cross-mod is. So I think this is something that I think the realtors as another housing policy can really do. And the fact these are high quality, in a factory in 10 days, it's powerful, they're very energy efficient. The amazing part is the amount of waste material from these homes. When this is built, The entire waste from the entire home production is 2 50-gallon trash cans. When I worked in construction, one home was like multiple dump trucks of waste material. They're just so efficient how everything's built. And it seems believing, when I'm sitting there telling you that things are just as high quality as stick built, you should be skeptical. It seems believing. If any of you head west and went to Paradise, California, this was a town that was burned down. You'll do the first loan here, but we can't invite you to look at the home because someone lives there, it's their personal home. We are actually building 4 of these homes right now. They were being delivered yesterday, installed yesterday. We're going to leave these open as model homes. Ron Howard, a really cool documentary on Netflix, if you want to watch it, how the fires burned the town down, so it was very dramatic. But where we built these homes there, we're going to literally leave them open as model homes, because in Paradise, you can look at this home, you can look right next to it, there's a stick built, and right next to it on the other side is an old style MH. You can see all 3 homes side by side, and you can say, okay, from the curb, which one's more attractive, walk through it, which one looks more attractive, and you're going to say, holy heck, this home was built for 30% less and built in 10 days, and it is way nicer in design and material than any other home on the street. That'll be the game changer. So we're going to invite policymakers, federal and state policymakers. We want realtors to see it. Your trade association will reach out to them and basically give them the code to the lockbox and let them look whenever you want. So it's the way of the future. We would love to do some more model homes in the south here and find some locations to do it so you have more local things to see. The city of Atlanta just approved, because most cities have strict rules on zoning. They think it's going to be an ugly trailer home, it's going to take down the neighborhood. And it's really hard to overcome those perceptions, and you can understand why they have them. So to me, it's seeing is believing. So the one that's being done in Atlanta right now is in process. That can happen. Not super local, but you'll start having more awareness of it. So I would just plant a seed with you. If you want to know more about this, we work with Clayton Homes, one of the largest builders. There's other builders out there as well. Happy to share more materials with you or connect you with them, just so you can learn more about it. So I think it's definitely the way of the future. I've talked way too much. You've been very patient, gracious with your time. If you have any questions on any topic, fire away, or if not, I'll stick around for a while to answer questions if you want to pass something aside. Okay. Any other comments about these homes or anything else we talked about today, or anything that? Question here.
I saw it first.
I was just going to ask, are there any of the crosswalks in Alabama right now?
There are a few. The ones that have been done so far, no one even knows they're crosswalks. The builders built some. The person buying them didn't know what they were. And so I'm not aware of any model homes that are out. Some of the dealers, like Clayton Homes, some of the dealers will have a crosswalk home on their dealer lot. And so you still get a sense of it. The hard part is it's not set to the foundation. To me, the psychology needs to be a manufactured home. You can look underneath and see daylight and some raccoons and other things that makes you feel like it's a trailer home. When these are built, they can either set them into grade level, which means they take a 3 or 4 foot hit, and the home's right at level, or you may want it in areas that may have floods or different reasons. You may want it up above, so you can go either way. But when you see them, there's no lattice skirting around it. It's a solid foundation, stonework, or something that's just makes a big difference. And to me, the porch and the pitch roof makes a big difference psychologically. This question here.
Going back to just kind of market, and more market stuff, and kind of what people have baked in or what the market is baked in. Do you affect with elections coming up in November? Not getting into politics, but I know the market doesn't like one party having to checkbook to everything. Do you see anything with that?
The markets love a divided Congress because they always like status quo. And so the fact, so you basically have today, not quite, with Kamala Harris as a tiebreaker, you have basically, not divided Congress. So if either the House or Senate were to flip, one state Democrat, one state Republican, that'd be the best case for the markets. I don't know that markets favor either party. Some market rallies, both the last Democrat president won and the last Republican won. So There's debates about markets liking parties, but I think markets for sure love split condos.
Okay.
Question?
I was just wondering how the foundation for the cross-lawn homes compared to a slab home.
I just saw one yesterday. They're actually live FaceTiming as it was going in. You could either do a slab, or you could, one that yesterday had a slab, then it had a concrete wall, and it had concrete posts in it. So it's definitely accessible for maintenance underneath. So it looks like a pier and post foundation, that they're very solid.
If we stay at rates of 6, 7, possibly 8% in the next 3, 4, 5, 6 months, and people do sit on the sidelines, but then we get inflation under control and rates do go back down to 5% range, does that create another frenzy like we've seen before where everybody comes back in at the same time, or does the unemployment rate want to protect that?
You know, I think that's a really good insight, because the best time to buy a home is when things are slow, and if you're the buyer, you have more cards you can play to take your time. If rates do drop, people that were on the sidelines will be coming in and have more competition as a buyer. So I think that's a very important point to keep in mind. 100%. Yes.
One last question.